Everybody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody on 149th Street at the bench.
Today, I want to check out 5 different types of graffiti pieces with you guys, and along the way, I'm going to give you guys some pros and cons for each one, some tips and tricks, and how I like each one of these. Now, there's a lot of ways to do graffiti, and a bunch of different styles, so feel free to leave your favorites in the comments down below. Kicking off the list at number 5, we have wild styles, something just about every single brand new graffiti artist aspires to do. And that's for good reason. These are really impressive pieces. They've got a bunch of details, they got a lot going on. It's almost like a sensory overload for graffiti. And that's one of the pros to these, is the fact that if you're a skilled graffiti artist, it gives you the chance to really show what you're made of. Show how far you've come since your early days in the art form, and really just flex whatever skills that you want to flex. A lot of graffiti artists have phenomenal wild styles, especially the highly skilled graffiti artists, but that happens to be one of the downsides. One of the cons to wild styles is the fact that because there's so much going on, you have more room for error. There's a lot of fundamentals that you have to juggle, and it's very common for everyone from beginners to even slightly advanced graffiti artists to mess up plenty of their fundamentals. One of the pros that especially intermediate to slightly advanced graffiti artists take advantage of is the fact that wild styles give you a lot of tools in order to hide your mistakes. Is this recommended to do? No, obviously it's better if you learn the fundamentals and you're able to not make those mistakes, but those are the pros and cons to wild styles. Now guys, I'm starting up a new series where I want to share your guys' graffiti, your guys' story in this beautiful art form. If you have any videos that you've posted on your own Instagram or whatever the case is of you hitting spots and getting up, send it over to my email. I got a link in the description down below. Or tag me in your post on Instagram. That is the easiest way to do it on Instagram. And I'm going to compile these and I'm going to put it into a video for you guys. We'll try a couple different formats with the video idea, see what works, see what you guys like most, and we'll take it from there. Moving on from that, we got number 4 on the list, and that is 3D graffiti. Or really, we're going to kind of mash in any graffiti that conveys some form of illusion. That doesn't necessarily have to be 3-dimensional or anything of the sort. All of these are really sick. I personally really enjoy these. And the pros here is the fact that you very much get to flex some high-level skill and knowledge, which is important to note, for not only graffiti's fundamentals, but oftentimes other fundamentals as well, such as realism. And that's what makes these really impressive. The payoff is huge. If you're able to nail down the aesthetic you're looking for, you can create some ridiculous illusions that are a lot of fun to not only do, but to look at. The wow factor is definitely there, rivaling a lot of wild styles, and actually in a lot of cases outperforming a lot of wild styles, even if the letters themselves are pretty simplistic in a lot of cases. The downsides, however, are the fact that you need an immense skill and knowledge for not only graffiti's fundamentals, but the elements of art as well, which make this very easy to mess up for a lot of people. Because if your forms aren't sculpted properly, or you're not conveying your shadows properly, then your entire illusion is a complete debacle, and it's not going to pan out. For anybody who wants to actually kind of learn how to do stuff like this, it's not as hard as I just made it seem, believe it or not, but you do have to learn all of graffiti's fundamentals plus all of the elements of art if you want to pull off illusions like this. And once you learn all that, you'll find stuff like this very easy to pull off in your favorite mediums. Now let me tell you, we recently released a book that teaches you everything you need to know about graffiti. So no matter if you just started graffiti today or you've been doing it for a few decades, the book's got something for everybody. We cover each one of graffiti's fundamentals, and we also cover how to find your style and a bunch of information that has never been talked about in this art form before. You'll find the book linked in the description down below. But enough about that, let's move on to the next one. For number 3, we got ourselves a bit of a combo package, if you will, because we're gonna throw in not only the black and silvers, but the black and white pieces that you might see in the streets, as well as blockbusters. I kind of wanted to lump all these together because they are very similar to one another, even though they certainly have their differences. Regardless, I love these. There is something very, very appealing about seeing a dope blockbuster massive on the side of a building, or a nice black and silver or black and white on the highway, or also on the side of a building like you'll see in this picture right here. But the thing here is it's gotta be rocked on an illegal spot. It's just gotta be. If I see this on a legal wall, I'm not gonna pay it any mind. I'm sorry, I'm looking and walking right by it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just a whole feeling that comes with knowing that somebody's kind of, on this mission to get this spot. And the black and white, or the black and silver, or the blockbuster brings it all together in a beautiful package. Now, one of the benefits here is they're very easy to do. They're not very labor intensive. You can do them quickly and quite effectively. You can add a little twinge of style here and there, and it's still pretty simplistic, easy to do, and fast as well. The blockbusters, admittedly, they do take a little bit more time, especially depending on how big you want to go, but that's also where the simplicity helps out. And the next one on the list has to be old school pieces. Just the whole thing. Any old school pieces from back in the day, they fit right here in our second to last category. There was something really beautiful beautiful, very organic about people learning graffiti back then and starting off with these styles that you hadn't seen anywhere else. You really were seeing very original letters back then that really abided by the fundamentals really well. They had a very impressive sense of the basics back then. And sure, not everything was perfect, but I mean, nothing's hardly perfect nowadays as far as graffiti is concerned. But what I really enjoy is the fact that they were able to make these original styles and come up with these original designs, and you still had the letter shown very clearly in a lot of cases. One of the, you know what, I'm gonna include this as an upside to the old school pieces, alright? But you could throw in some crazy colors into your filling. Now, is it true you can throw in crazy colors into any of your pieces, no matter what they are? Sure. Yes, 100%. But old school graffiti had a certain way of filling in its pieces that was funky, and it fit, alright? It looked nice. It really completes the old school piece. It brings everything together in a way that doesn't work out the same way when you put those funky colors on a new school piece. Once again, not saying it can't be done, but it doesn't have the same effect. The downsides to these is, honestly, if you attempt them nowadays, most of the time it looks too fraudulent. It looks like you tried too hard to rock the old school piece. Now, obviously, that's not the case in all cases for people who try to rock old school pieces. Another issue comes in with the fact that a lot of graffiti artists struggle to be able to analyze different styles. They struggle to be able to understand what makes a style and what defines the style. And as a result, they fail to capture what actually made the old school style. But if you are able to rock one, you're gonna have yourself an iconic looking piece on your hands, which in my opinion looks pretty damn beautiful. And that's why I gave it the second spot on our list. Now before we get into the top spot, I gotta throw in an honorable mention, just your average pieces. These aren't straight letters and they're not wild style. They're somewhere in between. People have a tendency to refer to these as semi-wild styles, even though that's not 100% accurate because these can be very simplistic, more so than what a semi-wild style would suggest. But regardless of what you call them, these are pretty dope. I like them. Not really much to say about the downsides here, other than the fact that if you don't have good fundamentals, you will end up messing these up, and your letter structures are often going to suffer, because these do require that you put forward a little bit more style than your average straight letter. And once an amateur attempts to do that, that's where things begin to kind of fall apart. However, if you already know your fundamentals, then these are going to be a cinch. They're not really going to be much of an issue. The upside to these is you're able to show a fair amount of style while also keeping things very legible. You're not adding so much style to the point where it's on par with a wild style where you can't read it. It's illegible, right? This, you can still see the letters. You can very easily make them out, and somebody who doesn't even do graffiti will be able to glance at this and still be able to make out the letters more times than not. Now for the top spot on the list, I have to put straight letters at the very top. Man, if you've been watching my videos for a long time, you know I practically have a fetish for straight letters. I'm sorry to word it that way, but this is my favorite form of graffiti. This is my bread and butter. Now you probably thought I was going to say straight letters have no downside, but there is a massive downside to straight letters, and that is the fact that you have nothing to hide your mistakes behind. Any really advanced, high knowledge level graffiti artist will look you right in the eyes and tell you that a well done straight letter is much harder than your normal wild style. Wild styles are a walk in the park compared to a very refined straight letter. And the reason for this is because, once again, as previously mentioned, with wild styles, you have all this extra stuff to hide your mistakes with, and trust me, most graffiti artists do. With straight letters, you have nothing at all. Just your skill, just your knowledge. And the upside is going to be pretty much what you'd come to expect from any very legible form of graffiti, where not only is it, well, legible, but they're pretty fast to do, and once you're at the proper skill level, they're pretty easy to do. They don't take up a lot of paint, they save you money as a result if you buy your paint. Sometimes in graffiti, less is more. Alright, I think that pretty much wraps up today's video, guys. If you have other styles of pieces that you really enjoy, leave it in the comments down below. And also, if you want to learn more about graffiti, feel free to check out the best How to Do Graffiti playlist anywhere online right up here. And don't forget, we also have the book that we just released in the description down below. It teaches you everything you need to know about graffiti. And more graffiti content right down here. And I'll catch you guys back here next week. Thanks for watching.